Happy Webinar Wednesday. I am super excited to be with you for the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to be talking all about delegation, becoming a better delegator. We are streaming live on Zoom, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And I'm going to ask you all to follow along wherever you like. And if you want to win prizes, everyone loves prizes. All you need to do is share on social media with the hashtag delegating to win. Delegating to win. We're going to get started in 37 seconds or so. In the meantime, let me know where you're watching from today. Post in Zoom or on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. Post where you're from, what your business is. If you have a business, would love to know where y'all are watching from in the world and what your business is, how many employees you have maybe. Tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you better and so I can help you customize my content today as best as I possibly can. So we've got, Dr. Bev Pell is here, a friend I met on Clubhouse a while back. That's exciting. I don't remember where you're watching from, Bev, so you got to tell me where you're watching from, as well as everyone else that is watching. Where are you watching from today? Where are you tuning in from? And what is your business? What do you do? All right, I said 37 seconds, so let's get the party started. Going to do a little screen share. Here we go. And this is the very first Webinar Wednesday. We've got a bunch more coming. So make sure you are subscribed to our email list so that you know about all of the other Webinar Wednesdays. But this one is called Delegating to Win. As I mentioned, my name is Dave Kerpen. I'm a New York Times bestselling author and serial entrepreneur of several companies, including our sponsor for today, Apprentice. As I mentioned as well, we're going to give away a prize to one person that uses the hashtag delegating to win on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn. But Twitter and Instagram are easier to monitor. So make sure you share if you're learning anything today, if you have a question, if you have an insight, or if you just want to say hi, share using the hashtag delegating to win. And Shani from my Apprentice team is looking out for anyone that is tweeting or Instagramming or Facebooking or LinkedIning using the hashtag delegating to win. And if you win, if we select you, you will win a copy of Likeable Social Media, Likeable Business, and The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills that will get you everything you want. All 3 books are yours. My next book, by the way, is all about delegating, which is why I was inspired to do this session today. What are we going to cover? First, we're going to talk about the biggest roadblocks to effective delegation. We're going to talk about how to change your mindset in order to delegate better. 7 tips and tools for better delegation. The challenges that you will face and how to get through those obstacles. And of course, I'm going to answer your questions if you have them along the way. You can post them in Zoom. You can post them on LinkedIn using that hashtag. You can post them on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag as well. We're going to start with the biggest roadblocks to effective delegation. And the biggest roadblocks are right up here. They're in our mind. It's our mindset. I have mentored and worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of small business owners at this point. And just about everyone I talk to wants to delegate better and more. And yet, the vast majority of them really struggle with it. They really struggle with it. And so when I ask them questions, when I really dig deep into what is going on, I find that it's almost always some issues, some roadblocks in people's minds. The biggest one is, well, it's all about trust and fear and letting go. But let's talk about trust first. Folks do not trust that the people that they delegate to are going to get the job done. Well, here's what I'm going to say first off. They're not going to get the job done the same exact way you would. So let's let go of that fact. No one is going to get the job done exactly the same way that you would get it done. But guess what? They might get it done a different way, but they might still get it done. They might get it done 97% as well as you would have done it, which is probably good enough. And here's the crazy thing. They might actually get it done better than you could get it done. So if you can learn to trust them, to ultimately get the job done, or if they're smart enough and persistent enough and gritty enough, even if they don't get the job done, they will learn and grow from that experience so that the next time they do a better job. If you can get to a point where you can trust your people, then you can delegate better. And by the way, if you can't trust your people, they're probably not the right people. It's probably time to get a different person on your team if you really, truly can't trust them. Fear. I know it is so scary to let go of control. It's really scary. We want things done. We want things done well. And we are very, very afraid of giving our work, our important work, to junior people, inexperienced people, agencies, consultants, interns, apprentices. It's really scary. But guess what? It's okay to be scared. It's not okay to let the fear get the better of you so that you're stuck in the business and can never actually grow. So what is courage? Courage is acting in the face of fear. Courage is saying, yes, I know it's scary. I know it's hard to let go of control. I know it's really, really scary. And yet I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to either win or I'm going to learn. If I learn, I'll win next time. That's what courage is. And that's what's essential in order to become a better delegator. And finally, we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to take this risk that people are going to mess stuff up. We don't want to take these chances. Vulnerability is really hard. But when we are vulnerable, we build relationships. I have been really vulnerable and courageous and trusting of my apprentices over the last several years. And you know what? Some of them have messed up sometimes. But others, and most of the time, they have risen to the occasion. And I've built some amazing relationships. Rob was my apprentice. Then I built a business with him. Sam was my apprentice. Then I built a business with him. Francesca is my current apprentice. We're writing a book together. These outcomes couldn't have happened if I hadn't been courageous and trusting and vulnerable. If you can change your mindset, I'm gonna get to tools and systems and software products to use to delegate. None of that matters if you can't change your mindset first. The most important 90% of what I want you to get from today is not about Monday.com versus Trello. Yeah, some systems work well for some people. Some systems work well for other people. Some software is good for some people. Who cares? None of that matters if you can't change your mindset. You have to get into your mindset, work with a coach, work with a therapist, work with a peer, work with somebody to figure out how to get over yourself. The reason my next book is called Get Over Yourself. It's about delegating, and it's called Get Over Yourself, because ultimately that's what we've got to do in order to delegate better. We have to get over our own fear, trust, and vulnerability issues. Have to do it. It's the only option in order to become a great delegator. So my challenge for you today is to figure out what it is you can do, who it is you can work with to change your mindset, to get into your own mind, to better understand your own trust and fear issues in order to ultimately delegate effectively. And I've heard all the excuses in the world. I can't trust them. I can't do this. I can't do that. Come on. We're grown-ups. You can do it. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. How can you shift your mindset? Truly, you can only get so far on your own. With a team, with teams over the last several years, I've been able to get 100 times further. As some of you know, my wife and I built a company that we sold. We had over 1,000 employees along the way. We sold it for 8 figures earlier this year. we never could have done it on our own. We had to delegate. We had to delegate. And this is the number one issue that small businesses struggle with. It's the number one thing. It's mindset and delegation. People are stuck in the business and they need to work on the business, and they know it, and yet they still can't get out of their own way sometimes, unfortunately. And ultimately, I believe the difference between a small business owner and an entrepreneur is delegation. Nothing wrong with being a small business owner, by the way. I love small business owners. But if you want to build your business 10x, 100x, if you want to really grow from where you're at right now, the only way to do that, I believe, is to change your mindset, work on the business, not in the business, become an actual entrepreneur, delegate, empower others, and then you can take off. Then instead of this, the small business owner curve, it can become this, the entrepreneur curve, or maybe even the exponential curve. You never know. 7 tips and tools for better delegation. We'll talk about communicating effectively. When you communicate, set deadlines always. I expect this done by this date and time, and be as clear as possible. Many times folks are not clear. If you're not clear in the first place, how can you expect them to get the job done right? Keep track of the to-dos. We'll talk about systems to do that. When having a meeting, always set the agenda prior. Have the person that you're delegating to set the agenda. That works even better. What are the things that we need to talk about? And send recaps after the meetings. Again, you can either send the recap or you can have the person that you're delegating to send the recap. But recaps are really, really valuable. They don't have to be a book, but just a bullet points. This is what we covered. These are the action items. Really important to make sure there is consistent clarity on both sides. The key to great delegation is consistent clarity. Does each party, the delegator and the delegatee, does each party understand what is expected and by when? What is expected and by when? We're brought to you by Apprentice today. I'm going to be using the word apprentice throughout. Just know, whenever I say apprentice, obviously some of y'all don't have apprentices, which is cool, but you have assistants. Presumably you have some people that you are delegating work to. So whenever I say apprentice, think of your assistant or your EA or your marketing coordinator or whoever it is that you are delegating your work to. Discuss which platforms you prefer with your apprentice. Make sure that both of you are comfortable. Some people love email. Other people love text. Other people love WhatsApp. Other people love Monday.com. What platform do you both like? Slack is a huge one, but I know some people that can't stand Slack. So make sure that both you and your apprentice or assistant are comfortable with the platforms. Calendar access and scheduling is really important to make sure that your person, your apprentice, is fully fluent in your calendar, in your schedule, if they are doing that work for you. And assign a wide range of tasks to people to find out what they're good at early on. Next, share resources. I think of resources as an easy way to very quickly build up a relationship with my people, right? So when I hire an apprentice, they quickly read my books, my podcasts, articles that I have found valuable, podcasts that I have found valuable. They can get to know me and what I believe in very, very quickly without me spending hours and hours and hours meeting with them. So I urge you to do the same with your apprentice or assistant. And they don't have to be books you've written. You don't have to have written a book to be in this webinar. But what are the key books and articles and podcasts that have helped to shape you, and that by them reading or listening to, they will better understand you and what you care about? That's the key thing that I'm looking for here, because that will help build your relationship quickly, and the relationship built on trust will be much, much more effective. The closer you are, the more trust you have between you and your apprentice or assistant, the better to get stuff done. Industry news, what resources should they be paying attention to based on your business? What meetings can they sit in on, even if they don't have to do with their specific tasks or roles? The more they can understand what is going on in your life, the better. I think of a great apprentice as a chief of staff. How can they understand as much of the business as possible so that they can be helpful. Sometimes the more I expose somebody to, the more they're going to be helpful, even with things that I haven't thought of. Hey, Dave, I have an idea for this. I have an idea for that. That's amazing. It's even better, right? It's like proactive people. Are we all, I don't know about you guys, but as an entrepreneur, I find proactive people amazing. And finally, resources that promote personal and professional development. I love the Enneagram, for instance. All of my apprentices and assistants and support team members always take the Enneagram assessment so that I can understand their motivation, their personality type. But there are lots of different resources. Obviously, the Strength Finders and DISC and Myers-Briggs are other examples of resources that promote personal and professional growth. Okay, next, share goals and give context. It's really important that your apprentice or assistant understands what your goals are as specifically as possible and what your expectations are around how they will help you reach your goals. And also priority-wise, I have this great chart. I don't think it's in this deck. I apologize. We have this great chart in the book, the urgency versus importance scale, right? So on the upper right-hand quadrant is your urgent and important tasks. These are the tasks that are the most important and the most urgent. Then you have your important but not urgent tasks. You have your urgent but not as important tasks. And you have your non-urgent and non-important tasks. Think about and help your apprentice or assistant understand which tasks fit into which quadrant, and that will help them prioritize goals. It's also really nice for you to show some interest in your apprentice and your assistant and what their goals are, right? People are going to be much more motivated to achieve things that they have intrinsic interest in than just doing stuff because you're the boss and you assign it. So it's really important and frankly very valuable to ask questions and understand what your people's goals are. And hopefully there's a little alignment there. If you can find alignment between your professional goals and their goals, well, that's the dream scenario. Let's talk about giving feedback. Folks are very cautious about giving negative feedback. And sometimes they're cautious about giving positive feedback. I am a very, very big fan of lots and lots of direct feedback as quickly as possible after the task. And we'll talk about the praise sandwich, but it's really valuable to give people feedback. Start with positives, truly. I really appreciated your efforts on this. I really appreciated the way you did this. I love the way you did this. And then on the negative stuff, instead of saying you, I try to make it I statements. When I was a young salesperson, I made this mistake. And they understand you're talking about them. They're not dumb. But it's different when, and it's valuable when it's an experience share versus you nitpicking them. When early on in my career, I was a little sloppy in my emails. So if I saw if one of my assistants was being sloppy in my emails, I would say, hey, love how quickly you responded to this email. Early on, I was kind of sloppy on my emails. So I totally understand the fact that, you misspelled this name. But I know that when I misspelled somebody's name on an email, it was like, it really set me back. I lost a big deal because of that. So obviously, and then they know they need to change. You don't even need to sort of pull it out of them because it'll be super obvious. And then, of course, with any praise sandwich, close with celebrating successes and a job well done. Encourage them to ask questions. A lot of people, fear-based management leads to apprentices and assistants not asking questions because they're afraid of looking stupid or getting judged. So the more that I can encourage questions early on, I always tell my people, no such thing as a bad question. Any question you have, please ask now, ask later. I pause and say questions, and then I wait 7 seconds because sometimes people, especially early on in a relationship, are hesitant to ask questions. So I say, any questions? Okay. And guess what happens? Usually around second 5 or 6, they say, actually, I do have a question. And I talked about the value of the praise sandwich. That is not a Dave Kerpen. Of course, that is a Carnegie original, but I borrowed from him. So with praise to Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the great books of all time, of course. When we get to specific tools, I'm going to be honest, that's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is the mindset stuff, okay? But my amazing apprentices, Francesca and Shani in this case, put together this handy dandy list of pros and cons of 4 of the major tools. Of course, there are other ones, but when looking at this, we looked at Asana, we looked at Google Docs, we looked at Monday.com, and we looked at Trello. And systems are very valuable. As I mentioned before, the best thing to do is to come up with a system that both you and your apprentice or the person you're delegating to are comfortable with. Both have to be comfortable with. So let's look at a few. Asana, pros, high customization, lots of great features. Some of the cons, it's a little bit of a harder learning curve, and it does take some time to get right. Google Docs, probably my personal preference, free to use, little to no learning curve. Cons, it lacks advanced features like following up on tasks. Monday.com, really popular one, done some work for them, great group of people. Built-in time tracking and useful visualization features. One of the cons, goals are a little bit harder to track, and it's a little bit more expensive, certainly more expensive than Google Docs, which is free. And finally, Trello, easy to get started, beautiful interface, probably the best designed. One of the cons, tough to master, and there's quite a few notifications as the default. Of course, you can update that and change it so you don't get quite as many notifications. If you have more questions about any of these specifically, we have a great team at Apprentice that can help you answer questions about which management delegation system might be best for you. I also have some links, and we'll send this deck out to everyone afterwards. You can click on these links, additional tools. To be a great leader, you have to learn how to delegate well, successful delegation, team management training, and 4 delegation best practices. Let's talk about some challenges that you're going to face along the way, because I can say all this and you can be super excited about it all, but let's be real, it's going to be challenging. First is from up high. So if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you don't have up high, but if you're a business unit leader and you do have a boss, or if you're an entrepreneur and you have investors, and you might have some challenges from them. They might be micromanagers themselves, and they might put a lot of pressure on you to get things done yourself versus delegating it. The way I've handled that challenge in the past is said, look, at the end of the day, do you care if I do it, or do you care if it gets done? And if it gets done really well. So I need you to trust me. Give me a chance. I actually just went through this with a company that I'm the chairman of. So we have some investors, and I said to them, listen, I got this. I need you to give me some space. I'm going to delegate. We're going to get this job done. Okay. The challenge from below, that's a harder one. That's a harder one for sure. The people that you're actually managing. But my goal here is to help you see that the way to delegate well is to trust and empower. Trust and empower. Trust but verify. Do not micromanage. Nobody likes a micromanager. That is not the effective way to delegate. A lot of people tell me, but I tried and it failed. Well, did you really try to delegate, or were you micromanaging along the way? Were you trying to control everything? The less you try to control, the fewer challenges you will have from below. People want to be trusted and empowered. If you can do that, you'll have fewer challenges from below. And of course, the ultimate challenge from within. We are the ultimate roadblock to our ability to delegate. It's not from our boss, and it's not from our people. It's from our heads inside. It's that constant voice saying, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. Or nobody's going to do it as well as I'm going to do it. Or I don't know if I can trust these people. Or I'm afraid they're going to mess up. And if they mess up, my company's going to go down the drain. I have heard it all. I get it. These are real challenges. But we can either quiet that voice, let that voice go, and give this a chance, or we can let it hold us back and handicap us. And I hope, of course, you will do the former and better embrace delegation. I'm going to go with a conclusion, and then I'm going to answer questions, if any. If you have a question, again, use the hashtag delegating to win and post on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram using that hashtag delegating to win. Or if you're in the Zoom, of course, you can just ask your question right in the Zoom Q&A and chat. Remember, if you're using the hashtag, we're also going to give away a grand prize, all 3 of my books, Art of People, Likeable Business, and Likeable Social Media, 3rd edition, to one person using the hashtag. So look, some of the hardest skills to learn while growing and scaling a business is how to effectively manage your team and delegate projects. Hope that you found our topics insightful. Delegation and management are skills that can always be improved. I know that I can certainly improve and become a better delegator. And no matter where you're at in your career, I'm hopeful that you can also get better, and it does get easier as time goes on. In my experience, it really does get easier. So best of luck growing your business while also making your life easier and more efficient. We here at Apprentice are here to cheer you on, help you along the way. If we can help you with any apprentices, our quick commercial break is that you can learn a lot more about Apprentice at chooseapprentice.com. We have the leading marketplace that connects CEOs and entrepreneurs with the best and brightest college students, the top 5% of college students in the world. These are brilliant people that can help you with any task that you have. We have 4 areas of apprentices: in marketing, in business development, in data and analysis, and in operations. If you need help in any of those 4 areas, marketing, business development, data and analytics, and operations, we have got a brilliant college student for you. And if you use the code delegating to win, we will give you 75% off your first month with Apprentice. 75% off. Is that the best deal we've ever done? Yes, it is. It is the best deal we've ever done. Sam, our head of sales, said, Dave, I want you to give an offer that people can't refuse. I said, okay, we won't give 50% off. We'll give 75% off. We've never done it before. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Simon Sinek said, a star wants to see himself rise to the top. A leader wants to see those around him rise to the top. I hope that you all are great leaders and you want to see those around you rise to the top and delegate better. And with that, I am going to take your questions. Post your questions on any of the social networks or post them in Zoom. I will be getting questions now from Shani, who will be texting me any questions that you have. And also she will be choosing a grand prize winner for us in a moment. Our first question: if an intern makes a costly mistake through an email, do you explain, apologize, or give an excuse to the client? My answer is I absolutely apologize. I'm a big fan of customer service. I use the model LAST. Stands for listen, apologize, solve, thank. And excuses, nobody really cares. Nobody wants to hear excuses. So I say, I hear you. We made a mistake. I apologize. I take accountability, even if it was the intern's fault. Because ultimately, who cares whose fault it was? It's my job as the leader to take accountability. And here's how I'm going to make it up to you. And people really appreciate that. They really do. In my experience, accountability, transparency, vulnerability, these are things that are very, very much appreciated. Whereas opacity, I believe the word is, or lack of accountability, lack of transparency, clients can't stand that. That is absolutely not the way to go. Thank you for your question, Anonymous. Another attendee is asking, do any of your apprentices fill 2 roles like marketing and operations? Yes. We do have apprentices that specialize in both. Sometimes marketing and biz dev often go hand in hand, and marketing and operations often go hand in hand, and operations and data and analytics often go hand in hand. So we have some rock stars. We don't have anyone necessarily that can do it all, but we have some amazing rock stars. And what a lot of people do too is they use 2 apprentices, maybe 1 apprentice for one area and 1 apprentice for another area. I personally have 2 apprentices, which is really, really great. Okay, I'm going to say I answered those questions, so they will no longer appear as questions. And I don't see any more questions on Zoom, so I'm going to say last chance to post questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Kansas City is in the house. Click Up, Beverly Pell is giving a shout out to, very exciting. And a last chance for Shani to give me some questions on the internets, but I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to thank you all and give away a grand prize. Let me pull up, before I do that, my final offer. Here it is. And then stay tuned. We're going to give away our grand prize to one person that has used the hashtag delegating to win on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. Learn more about Apprentice at chooseapprentice.com. Get 75% off your first month with the code delegating to win. Really proud of the work that our team of apprentices have done. Over 150 now. Brilliant college students doing amazing work for lots of incredible companies and incredible entrepreneurs. My grand prize winner, and thank you again. Oh, so quick thank yous. Thank you to Sam from Apprentice, and to Francesca and Shani for helping set this all up. And to Morgan for helping set this all up. Great team at Apprentice. Our grand prize winner is Dr. Beverly Pell. Congratulations, Dr. Beverly Pell. You are going home with all 3 books: Likeable Social Media, Likeable Business, and The Art of People. Until next time, thank you all for attending today. Have a super wonderful webinar Wednesday, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.